Hi everyone, welcome to the Digital Fifth FinTech Show. Today we have with us Ajay Trehan, founder and CEO of Authbridge. Authbridge is a cutting-edge authentication technology platform focused only on the authentication side of it. So it can be multiple sources it uses for authentication. Of course, recently it has also launched a video KYC platform, and including something like a video PD or personal discussion, which is also critical for credit underwriting others. Interestingly, it has been in RegTech space for more years than RegTech itself. So it has been in this business for 15 years. And I'm so happy to have him on board. Thanks, Ajay, for joining us. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Amir.
Okay. So, Ajay, the first thing before we go forward is I think our viewers would really want to understand what Authbridge is all about and a bit of background as well and what your journey is, vision ahead.
Right now, so that's always a very interesting question to answer. Been an entrepreneur personally for about 20 years now. I've seen, I've seen two, three journeys in my own life, a couple of failures to reach a point where I think I can kind of, we've built Authbridge to a fairly respectable organization now. So we started Authbridge in 2005. So it's been a 15-year journey, and today we service about 1,000 customers and help them digitally onboard their various stakeholders. So whether it's customers for banks and financial services companies, it is employees for large corporates, it's vendor partners, it is investee companies for funds. We have a whole range of for want of a better word, I'll say enterprise applications which solve very specific problems for our customers. So we use a whole lot of technology to solve specific problems for our customers. So we've been doing that quite successfully now for last 15 years. Though specifically in the last 8 or 10 years, we kind of switched to technology in a very big way. How we do our business, we got a lot of acclaim. With case studies being written about us, and taught in the MBA programs at Cornell University, University of North Carolina in the US, even in IIM Ahmedabad last year, and ISB Hyderabad and Mohali. So it's been a very interesting journey. And the other interesting part about our journey till now has been the whole change and the speed at which it's happening, and the fact that we've continued to remain very nimble as an organization. So we haven't really packaged ourselves in just one single spot and said this is what we're doing. We've constantly evolved as our customer requirements have changed. We've evolved our technology very quickly. We've evolved our ways of working very quickly. So that's been the journey. And today we pride with the fact that we are considered an innovator. We solve a lot of specific problems for our customers which otherwise they were struggling to solve. So that's what we do for a living, and we enjoy it.
Okay, this is good. This is good. In fact, I was just thinking yesterday. I was seeing Fast and Furious movie. I can watch it anytime, any of these series, any point of time. But interestingly, I was thinking that fintech journeys are like that. Every day something changes, right? Either a regulator will change something, or somebody will come in the market and do innovation. So I think market is changing. So I think given that COVID, a lot of things, other things have changed. So from your perspective, what exactly do you think has changed, and where I think from a customer onboarding journey, what exactly can be done now differently?
Yeah, so interesting point. I mean, when an industry which is already very dynamic, we didn't need another change, but I think it's a welcome change. So while COVID's created a lot of challenges for all of us, but I think what it's done is that it's made a lot of things in the world change much faster than what you and I could have imagined. I mean, a lot of paradigms that we would talk in theory, especially saying that, let's run paperless offices. We don't really need to meet in person to solve problems. And, those are nice theoretical things to say, but now it's reality, right? And all of us are running our businesses sitting at home. So I think that's a significant paradigm change. And that, in itself has changed a lot of things for our customers as well, and for organizations. I mean, the whole contactless, remote, instant, some of these things have now become a reality. Customers, as we know, most organizations are struggling to meet their top lines. So for our customers as well, when their revenues are hit in this environment, anything that we can do to help them enhance their revenues and top line or help them reduce their costs is a welcome solution. And in older days, it would take a lot of time to get a solution like that past the gatekeepers in most organizations. Today, it's fairly easy. I mean, most organizations are welcoming innovative solutions with open arms. They're very happy to look at, digital solutions and platforms. And the customer expectations are also changing very quickly in terms of speed of delivery, execution. So when the source of revenue is hit, and when the margins are at real stress, I mean, that's when I think I think somewhere I was just discussing it with somebody, and I said necessity is the mother of invention. So there was a necessity in some of these organizations for them to survive, and they were okay to now accept innovation, accept new ways of doing things. So a lot has changed. I mean, in the financial services, we see very, very different approach to accepting solutions, very open mind.
Okay. So for financial services, anything specific? I mean, what kind of solutions you have? What are the values they create for them? Any key use cases you want to talk about?
Yeah. So at a very broad level, we have three products that we go to the market with. We have API gateway called TruthScreen, which has hundreds of authentication APIs, whether they are data driven or they are driven with AI engines at the back. Like face match and OCRs and then a whole lot of authentication capabilities. So the TruthScreen engine is one of the primary products we take to the market. And on top of TruthScreen, we built various enterprise applications to solve specific customer issues. For example, we help insurance companies onboard agents in almost real time. We help large banks and financial services companies onboard their customers remotely. Thankfully, the regulators also had come out with remote onboarding regulations at the right time. Otherwise, this would have been kind of tough. So the regulations came at just about the right time, and then the adoption moved very, very quickly, which is rare to see in India. So we were able to build a lot of enterprise applications around remote onboarding of customers, agents. Digital underwriting for insurance companies, liveness detection for life insurance companies as they're onboarding customers remotely now. Onboarding for point of sales for a lot of financial services companies where the point of sales are in tier 2, tier 3 cities, and it's very hard for their own sales teams to reach out. So it's all remote now. The second major offering we have in this space is video KYC. And that was kind of was there for a long time, and RBI then came out with the new set of regulations that made it real. So we have customers who now use video KYC either for onboarding or even for portfolio management, which is subsequent video discussions. So it's video PDs where they want to have an ongoing discussion with customer from time to time as to how's the portfolio doing, how's the business doing. And all of that gets recorded and is available as an audit trail for future references. The third major offering we built and rolled out quite successfully at this time is SignDrive, which is a kind of loan agreement management journey. So SME lending company can fairly easily using Aadhaar or various other signature processes can through a workflow sign agreements, multiple documents, and they don't have to meet the customer in real time. And all these signatures are allowed signatures by the regulators. So essentially, three products all specifically around managing customers and stakeholders remotely. And we've been able to kind of very successfully roll them out in the market in the last 4 months, which otherwise I'm sure would have taken years to become a reality. So it's been a very, very pleasant change in terms of speed in this unfortunate time as well.
No, I agree. I think the movement is so fast now that, in fact, in many cases, customers are chasing us saying that I want this transformation now. Normally, it happens then that you keep chasing that it's the other way around this time because they're in real hurry. So moving to a critical element, I think the risk mitigation and of course regulatory compliance are critical. So how can you help the banks and NBFCs and fintechs sort of improve upon risk side as well as on the regulatory framework side?
Yeah, so I think what we have to as a service provider or as an application provider ensure that whatever we deliver to our customers, you know, is at the very least compliant with the regulations that they have to comply with. That's been the global philosophy of Oddbridge as a company because we've delivered, we today deliver whatever we do in about 92 countries. So the
92.
ability to, yeah, so the ability to understand regulations, compliances across these countries, and being able to kind of manage our platforms in a manner that they are very configurable to manage these complex compliances. So India, we all know the compliances very well, and the regulators are fairly transparent. And so for us, it was kind of natural for us from a DNA perspective to build solutions which were compliant. So whether it was KYC, which meets RBI regulations and SEBI regulations, or it is the authentication APIs where data transmission and authentication algorithms are encrypted and so on and so forth to make sure that the data doesn't, the bank's data is not compromised. So some of these things are very important, and we've ensured, and these were very clear regulations that were stipulated by the regulators as well. So we made sure that while there was a lot of pressure and a lot of, zeal to quickly take decisions from our customers this time around, we were not cutting corners anywhere because that's not the way Oddbridge works as a company. Coincidentally, we were probably one of the first companies to even, very strongly comply with the GDPR regulations and the Draft Indian Data Privacy Act, because those things, are very important when you're dealing with large companies. I mean, for them, compliances are paramount. So that becomes a big tick in the box when organizations work with us today. So, we worked diligently to make sure that we were ready. And when this happened, the systems and products that we were delivering to our customers were already well suited, very compliant, and they didn't have to kind of look at those aspects of our products, before signing up. So it's kind of been all right. Yeah.
Okay. I think so maybe different question on different era. So you started almost 15 years back on this journey, right? Now it is not difficult now, at least you have co-working spaces and all of that is there and the life is, when you say you are starting your startup, it is difficult for the family to take, but it's still not that difficult. And actually you can walk around at least in Mumbai and other cities to say, yeah, I'm running a company. But I think 15 years back was not easy. So how was your journey of setting it up and how difficult it was in that era? Because at least looks much easier now.
Well, yeah. So the word entrepreneur wasn't as smart a word, and was not a tag that we would love to carry. People would love to carry all the time 15 years back. So it had its own set of challenges. Funds were not that easily available. The ecosystems were not that friendly. But yeah, I think we were just at the right place at the right time from an opportunity standpoint. Thankfully, our customers were very supportive. So, we evolved from zero to 1,000, 1,200 customers today, and that's all thanks to the customers we work with. I mean, and a lot of that business coincidentally is references from customers. So we're very proud of the fact that we did good job for one set of customers and they took us to many. And thankfully, because we've kept our focus on technology, we've been able to attract great talent as well, which always is a challenge when you're building an organization from scratch. So it's been a roller coaster, but so far so good because it's been going in the right direction. So it's all good.
I agree. I agree. I was just thinking that you entered the RegTech segment, regulatory technology segment, even before the RegTech was called RegTech, right? I think 15 years back, RegTech was not there. It is only last 5 years. I think if people talk about it. So, yeah, I think very different journey. I mean, you established the segment itself. The journey itself, post when it's done, I think the rest all can replicate that success.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So moving to the innovation side, I think you have done some work. You've been sort of working with large institutions. So one of the challenges that when you become large, the innovations typically slows down. So I want to know, what are you doing on the innovation side? What are new values you are adding on the ecosystem on adding something which is not available in the market and saying that, yeah, something new. Anything which you can share, obviously, IP wise, you can always avoid those things which are sort of very close to your heart and you don't want to share.
No, I think it's a good question, and I love to answer that question because I think your first point that you mentioned, that as a how do you continue to remain innovative even as a large company. So I think the we retain the innovation DNA in a way. So we have what we call Oddbridge Labs. It's a team of people whose job is only to innovate. So they're kept away from the business as usual activities of the organization, and we call them out only when we need them for brainstorming. But those guys are just there, whose their job is only to continue to think of new capabilities and continue to find better ways of using those capabilities. All very bright bunch of guys, and so Oddbridge Labs is where I think the innovation rests. And today, with some of the core capabilities being built either in-house or through partners, like the various AI frameworks and artificial intelligence frameworks and various algorithms that we use currently for data matching. We are identifying new areas. For example, one of the areas we are looking at, and I think we very successfully executed, we are doing POC with one of the largest NBFCs in India right now, is on analysis of balance sheets and profit and loss statements for small and medium enterprises. Now, as we know, these balance sheets and P&L statements, because they're not regulated, that SME sector, which is not private limited and so on and so forth, typically partnerships and proprietorship firms, their financial documents come in all kinds of formats. The notes that are mentioned by the auditors are also kind of flowing texts, and if you have to pick up data from there, you have to pick threads from there, it's very hard for you to do that. So the frameworks are currently being trained along with a client partner to be able to extract data, to put it into a template that they use for analysis of the portfolio, and put it in a template in a manner that the formulas are retained, and there are red flags wherever there are mismatches, etc., etc. So that's one big area we are investing in, and hopefully we'll roll that out in the next few weeks successfully. We've had great results till now. And likewise, we are looking at some image matching innovations as well, because some of our customers again have come to us saying that, okay, so in fact this POC within the same NBFC, they have come back to us asking for some other problems. So if we can use AI platforms to solve those as well. So we are basically now training our engines for the new set of problems that some of our customers are bringing to us. So it's good to co-create some of these products with customers we've been working with for many years.
Maybe a very awkward question. So typically AI is, wherever we use word called AI, one, it is not happening, right? That's one thought process. And second is it's very expensive. Any thoughts on either of them?
Well, I think it was expensive because there were no takers, but I think people are more comfortable with surrogate data. People are more comfortable with robots making decisions instead of human eye, because we've realized over a period of time that the error percentages are similar. So if you're doing a data entry versus a robot doing a data entry from a handwritten text, chances are that a human will make 5% errors, and so will a robot. So till the time you can live with that and you can find workarounds, everything is okay, and that realization is coming in. I think early the thought process was that softwares and robots should be 100% accurate.
Yeah, वही है, इंसान करेगा तो कोई भी गलती चलेगी, but if the systems will be perfect, right? Zero error, otherwise we'll fire you, right? Types. I totally get you.
Right. So that's not reality, right? So I had the good fortune of meeting with somebody who was a part of the IBM research team very early days, and it's one of the earliest guys in who's done PhD in AI and ML, and a lot of learning from him on how AI and ML has evolved over a period of time and what else can be done. Thankfully, we've been using it very effectively. We've created some fantastic products and hope to create much more in future. So in financial services industry, I'm seeing is very, very open to some of these innovations. And while we didn't start as a company which would 15 years ago, I didn't think of this as a problem we will solve. It was a very different problem for which we were founded. But today the problems we are solving are very different, and it's all because of the acceptance of the industry. Yeah.
I totally agree. I think the financial service industry, I've been working in the same segment for 2 decades, but generally people are easier to sort of reach out to. In fact, my awkward algo is that it's easier to reach out to top management in a bank and everybody else. But anybody who has recently been Series A funded is difficult one to talk because he's suddenly become a big ego guy, right? So I think I always take at least 6 months off that guy who's recently got anywhere between 2 to 5 million is a dangerous one. After that, he becomes normal, right? After that, reality happens that he's actually a normal human being. So thanks a lot, Ajay. I think this session was extremely sort of informative, and मेरे को भी सीखने को मिला. Absolutely. And I think you and me are also from the same batch from I think '93, and I think the only thing is I'm late in starting my business.
No, better late than never, right? So this
I
is
agree.
one thing. This is one thing you must do in your life once. I mean, try to be an entrepreneur. If it succeeds, nothing like it. And why not? I mean, if you have the right, approach, and you're willing to take that jump, I think there are enough opportunities. And I love your what you do. I mean, I completely love what you do.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. मिलते हैं.
Because I look forward to many more interactions in future. Thank
Absolutely.
you.